Good morning, dear friends. This is Svetlana Tansura, and we are continuing our meeting today. And as I mentioned in our first meeting, today we will discuss how to properly use a cell activator if you are applying it to yourself. In the first part of our meeting, we talked about meridians, and they said that we have 14 classical Chinese meridians, of which 12 are paired, and 2 are unpaired, and there are 8 folic meridians. So now, I will actually show you how to properly use the cell activator. For yourself, we won't turn it on because when the activator is working, you can't hear my voice. And naturally, I will perform very few movements because we are limited in time. That is, I will announce how many movements to make and what kind. The first thing we will do now is open our 7th chakra. These are 8 movements in total in a clockwise direction. Then we move on to the front central meridian, which is unpaired. How do we work? We work by closing our eyes from the middle of the head, moving down with smooth, small movements to the bottom. And I always go back up the same path, but I only count one path. So that was just one now. Actually, we can work with smooth movements, taking our time. We can also work with what we call the shell technique. That is, with movements like these. Next, we need to work on the back central meridian. Of course, it's not very convenient when you're doing this alone at home, but you need to get used to it. So once again, we go from the top of the head down the middle over the vertebra. This is how I move. The activator, and also lift it up. If lifting is not possible, then we only work downwards. Again, either with a movement like a dashed line, so to speak, or we work with a shell-like motion. If it's inconvenient for you to go back, then switch hands and start. That is 8 movements for the front rows, 8 movements for the back central meridian. Now I am moving on to work on our ears, which are very important. The ears, like our hands, that is our palms, and our soles are very large reflex zones. And by working on the ear area, we are thus addressing the specific organs we have, as well as the trigger zones located on our ear, and we also cover meridians such as the gallbladder meridian, the small intestine meridian, the triple burner, and the stomach meridian. So we will do 8 movements for each ear. 8 movements. The movement again, or smooth and shell-like, done. Now, we will work on the eyes closed and relaxed. We work clockwise at a fairly large distance, approximately about 20 centimeters. You can approach a little and then move away immediately. Approach and move away. Don't forget that if you have lenses, they should be removed. The eye should be closed. We can also work with a shell technique, or we can work with a continuous line. Next, after you have worked with the eyes, counting to 30, about half a minute, that is, applying and removing, we move on to working with the lymphatic system. That is, these are our chin and clavicle lymph nodes, which are important lymph nodes. Like this, with these movements, or again with shell-like movements. Don't forget that these are indeed all paired meridians and paired lymph nodes. Therefore, we work on both the right side and left side. 8 movements, 8 movements. Then we move on to the axillary lymph nodes. We count to 30 for half a minute. Or again, we work with the shell, or we remove it, bring it closer. So here and here. Then we move on to our Petkus system. That is, we work here for a minute, also either with a shell or a straight line. We remove it. We are getting closer. Then we will move down to the inguinal lymph nodes. That is, again, 2 sides either of shells or a continuous line. Also work for half a minute and half a minute. And then If it's convenient for you, for example, I find it convenient to work with my hands while sitting. So, we are working on our hands. We linger a bit on the palm, going through all the fingers, because we know that 3 meridians start on the hand and 3 end there. And also, the palm of the hand is a reflex zone that is connected to our internal orbits. When we work with it, we are working with the entire body. So these are 8 movements, so either continuous or shell-like, lingering on the palm and paying attention to each finger. Then turn your hand over. Make sure to also work on the back of the hand and the fingers. There are also 8 continuous movements or shell movements. That is, we treat this side and the other side, then we will move to the beginning of our stomach meridian. It starts just below the eyes. Again, guys, we are working on both sides, eyes closed. And let's begin. We go right in the middle of the chest, legs, and we come to the second toe on the foot, there. And then we don't count here. And again we go 2, and so on, 8 times. A passing day. Then we will move on to the spleen meridian. But here we will also touch on the liver meridian, because the spleen meridian starts on the big toe on this side, and the liver starts right here, on the other side of our big toe. So when we work, where do we go? We go along the inner side, right? This is a yin meridian. Here is the female one. It is internal. This way, we will carefully and slowly reach the underarm area. But let's not forget the liver meridian as well, because we also affect it positively. Since our tip is large and wide, we cover a very large area. Again, 8, 8, 8, 8, either continuously or in a shell shape. Now this is very important. We have just 1 meridian on our back. This is indeed the meridian of the bladder, which we can work on the back. So there is the back, middle, and bladder meridian. Maria of the bladder. We also have the kidney meridian, which starts right here, but it goes down the leg to the back. So when we are working on the back side of the leg, we will be addressing both the bladder meridian and the kidney meridian. However, when we move to the back, only the bladder meridian will remain, because the kidney meridian will exit from here. The leg will go here, then exit in the groin area and continue along the front part of our body. So when we work with the stomach meridian, as I repeat once again, the tail is large, the nose is large. Here we also work on part of the kidney meridian. So our bladder meridian starts right here, where the eyebrows begin. So how do we work? We start from here, water, and right on the face, this is the projection of the liver. In other words, when we use the activator, we are literally working with all the organs of our body, the body as a whole. That is, we start from here and move across the head. Again, we shift it. And like this, approximately here from the middle to the middle of the shoulder blades, go down, 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 and reach the little finger. Our bladder meridian, which is located on the hand, ends at the little finger and is an important part of the body's energy pathways. Again, if it's convenient for you, go ahead and move up, count this path. If it's not convenient, switch your grip. And now, 8 movements down. So, what are we working with here? This is very important. With our back, the rear surface of our body. And we will work with the meridian of the bladder and also include the meridian of the kidneys. Then we will move on to working on the soles of the feet, and then we will proceed to working on the soles of the feet, ensuring they are properly attended to. Again, here we work either with a strip or with a shell. Now we are working on the feet. We start with a minute, then each time you can add a minute. And just like with the palms, the ears, and the soles, bring it up to 3 minutes. Well, I always advise not to overload your body the first 2 times. So, slow and steady wins the race. Please work as I instructed you, either with 8 movements or for half a minute, and then gradually increase to 3 minutes. After that, you can do 3 minutes for the hands, the back of the palm, the earpiece, and the legs. You will work for 3 minutes later. That is, you have worked like this, and I remind you once again, the soul is a very large reflex zone, connected to the internal organs. If you need to work on specific organs, you can also look for the projection of these organs here and work on them. Let's say, here is the thyroid gland. Here is its projection. The eyes are located right here under the second finger. And here is the appearance of our leg. This is our spine. So here is the head. And you work along the entire spine. Here is our tailbone. So, if you need to work more precisely in certain places, then focus on those areas in particular. And once you have, as we say, cleansed the lymph, stimulated the lymph, also cleansed the blood, stimulated the blood, and restored circulation, then you can start working on the problem areas. So, what does a problem area mean? For example, if your shoulder hurts, you go to work on the shoulder. If your elbow hurts, apply it to the elbow. If it's varicose veins, apply it to the varicose veins. The only thing is, when you are working, when you need to work with internal organs, for example, can you work with the liver and gallbladder, which are located in the right hypochondrium? Of course you can, for half a minute or a minute, but only if you don't have gallstones. Is it possible to work directly on the pancreas and the spleen, which is located in our left hypochondrium? Of course, you can work for half a minute, but only if there are no problems with these organs. That is, to vitalize them, give them energy, help them, and if everything is fine, then yes, you can directly target these organs. But if there is already some problem, address the projection zones or trigger zones, because all our organs have their own imprint, their own place. As on the palm, so on the face, so on the ears, and so on the soles. Therefore, please, if you are working with the liver capsule, for example, is located on the right shoulder blade. The liver itself, its projection, is located on the face between our eyebrows. Now, the liver, look at the projection of where it is located on the palm and work more on that spot. Also, check the projection of the liver on the sole. I will absolutely and definitely record another detailed video on trigger meridians and paratrigger zones, which will help you. Also, find out where these zones are that need to be worked on if there are. Any problems with internal organs. We will do all of this for you, and as I advise you to work, when you are already working on a problematic area, please start with just 3 minutes. The first session should be 3 minutes. If there are several places, then 3 minutes each. The second session is 5 minutes, and then each session can be extended to 15 minutes. Please work on the first cold mode. Then, once you have completed, say, the first 10 sessions, if you need to repeat another 10 sessions or 8 sessions, you can move on to the second mode. But again, make sure to switch modes, first, second, to make sure this area does not get burned. Also, of course, there are contraindications for using the activator. Please, I advise you to study them and make sure not to make any mistakes or get negative results when using our wonderful activator device. See you soon.